The Central Bank of Nigeria identifies smuggling and dumping as saboteurs of economic policies. Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry seeks concessionary tax rate for small and medium enterprises. The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) says action against O&O is aimed at protecting investors. Suspends annual general meeting. Business Express is reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. And I am Leakatun Babatunde. Of course, today we shall be taking expert opinion on managing the nation's economy as Nigerians wait anxiously for a new cabinet. We begin the business of the day. Now, the storm created over disagreements by the Securities and Exchange Commission and O&O doesn't seem to be going anywhere soon, as the Commission puts off the annual general meeting of the company scheduled for this week till further notice. The SEC, in a statement, directed the suspension of the annual general meetings of O&O PLC to allow the parties maintain status quo following an ex parte order of the Federal High Court, Ikoyi, Lagos. The Commission at the weekend said that O&O PLC was given sufficient opportunity of being heard before they were penalized. Now, reactions have been trailing the O&O saga, and Rotimi Fakayejewo, market analyst, spoke with NTA's Abolade Salami in Lagos.
The whole genesis of this started when they took the drive of taking up the ConocoPhillips asset way back. A lot of things that did happen is not primarily that of O&O. We realized then that when the transaction took place, it took so long a time for the federal government to actually give an approval to the transaction, and that this resulted in a lot of debt burden on O&O, and that is what has actually tumbled their books, bringing it from blue to red. And today we are having what we are seeing. But for me, I believe that the kind of thing that should be at the burner at this point in time should be that what way forward are we going to have?
Now, Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, says the bank has identified smuggling and dumping as major challenges sabotaging the Nigerian economic policies. Emefiele, who disclosed these at a session in Lagos on the roadmap for greater growth, however, assured that policies formulated by the Apex Bank will further stimulate development. Abolade Salami brings us that report.
The move by the Central Bank of Nigeria to surpass its economic policies in the development of the macroeconomic sector, as well as productivity in other key sectors of the economy, informed the gathering of stakeholders in the financial and manufacturing sector. Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele, while analyzing steps taken by the Apex Bank to confront the 2015 to 2017 massive drop in crude oil price as it affects the economy, said far-reaching measures aimed at ensuring stability in the macroeconomic sector and foreign exchange markets were taken.
There is no denying that flexible exchange rates provide valuable monetary policy independence. But in a dollar-denominated global trade environment, the ability of a floating currency regime to support full employment is severely limited.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu emphasized the need to invest more in infrastructural development in order to encourage foreign direct investment.
In this vein, it is therefore becomes imperative that we invest more in priority areas, especially health, education, and infrastructure.
This plead that we need to work very hard on consumer credit. Consumer credit will actually help us quite a lot, because it will even help the government in fighting their corruption.
Management of the Apex Bank expressed the zeal to include recommendations made by stakeholders as part of its roadmap to drive growth of the Nigerian economy. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
Business Express is reaching you from our Abuja studios. The program will continue after this break. Dr. Elijah Manson is the Director of Budget Research and Development Policy Advocacy Center, and he joins us to look at the prospects and expectations often for the Nigerian economy as citizens wait to see the trusted hands to steer the affairs of the nation for the next 4 years. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, right. Let's just start this way. Now, the last 4 years has seen the characterization of low revenues. So, to start with, how do we address this issue immediately?
Yeah, it's correct to say that in the last 4 years we have seen a nosediving of the revenue accruing to the federal government. This is largely due to the fall in the rate at which government is generating revenue from the main source, which is the oil sector. You know, in recent past we have experienced a time when the oil revenue was sold as much as over $100, but in recent past it drops to around 30. But as it is now, it has soared up again to about 60. But that is still a far cry from what the government is expecting to generate from the oil sector. And
now, talking about that far cry now, do you see this problem going away anytime soon?
Not soon. We can see some improvement. But to get to the level at which the government is expecting to generate the revenue that they need to finance the high value infrastructure to drive the economic growth process, it is still going to be a little bit far from now.
Okay, so talking about high value, what are those areas you think the government should plunge into like immediately to address this revenue concern?
Well, there are key sectors which we also refer to as growth drivers. One of those key sectors in recent past has been the ICT subsector. Is the output or the rate at which that sector has been driving the growth has been higher compared to the decline in the agricultural sector that used to be the driver. And also look at the industrial sector due to a lot of challenges emanating from the critical sectors. We find out that there has been a decline both in the agricultural productivity and also in the industrial sector, which used to be. And of course, we're also expecting that with improvement in the extractive industry, particularly the solid minerals exploration, we tend to see a soar in the economic activities, but that has not been achieved yet.
So what steps do you think should be taken?
First, it is important that government devise more proactive measures. Once an economy is challenged, bear in mind that Nigeria is just emerging from the recession. We have not yet have a stabilized economy that will propel growth. So the Nigerian government need to finance growth and development. It's not just about generating revenue, but we're talking about generating revenue to be able to finance growth so that the economy will soar and other economic challenges like poverty can be addressed. How can we achieve this? electricity has been a key sector, especially when we look at the ease of doing business, where we're expecting that if we can stabilize that sector, if we can improve in our infrastructure, then of course what should drive income generation and employment should be the micro and even the small scale industries, not even the large industries that at some points, though they declare so much profits, but the capacity to employ the Nigerians, the high rate of unemployment, to reduce the high rate of unemployment in the economy is less compared to the small and the micro industries that can actually take care of or address about 50 or thereabout percentage of those who are not employed in the Nigerian economy.
Okay, so let me take this away from you now. Have some economists say taxes should be increased because we have a revenue issue. Another school of thought says no, widen the tax nets. Which one do you belong to?
I think it may be, in the economic sense, it may be suicidal at the moment in which we are now if government decide to increase the tax rates. Bear in mind that tax has two functions. One, tax can be used to generate revenue. But bear in mind that tax is also an instrument that government use to manage the economy. So, if it's not properly managed, then it can harm the economy. But in the interim, there are a lot of other things, not necessarily. So, from my own thinking, I think bringing more people into the tax net will serve better than increasing the tax rate. Take, for instance, the VAT is 5%. If you increase that VAT from 5% to 7%, it has a macroeconomic effect. It may drive inflation, and that will stifle investment, or other things that also drive the economy. So you need to balance between using tax as an avenue to drive revenue and also as an avenue to manage the economy properly so that you can drive investment.
Now the World Bank just last week is looking at the growth prospects for Africa, and it is telling us the issue of 2.2% growth and of course a marginal 3% advancement by next year. But that is if nations like Nigeria will do more outside the oil revenue we are raising. What do you make of that?
As it is now, I think the economy is bedeviled with so many challenges, one of which is the security issues. I think, was it yesterday or some few days, how much was lost in the capital market because of some of the people that divest from. So, as it is now, there are some critical challenges that we need to address. Bear in mind that the security challenge has also affected the agricultural sector, that government are focusing as a driver in terms of addressing issues of unemployment and also generating income.
So perhaps, let's say, in the very short run, we're going to see an increase in revenue generation. But we also have a rising youth population, and as you rightly mentioned, the unemployed ones. So if you're looking at all these issues and putting the whole thing together, where do you think government should be spending their resources on?
I think it's going to be multifaceted. First, because when we talk of unemployment, most times we're also talking of whether they have the skill sets to gain employment. It's not just about graduates walking around the streets, but whether they also have the requisite skills to be employed. First, so the soft skills, which comes through training, education, and knowledge acquisition. Then, we must also be able to invest in the critical sectors like I mentioned. The ICT, it's because there should also be some form of, that they call it the low-hanging fruits. There are things you can easily do in order to reap the gains. And there are also things you can do without necessarily stabilizing the economy. So what we are looking at here is government need to have a multifaceted approach. One, invest in soft skills so that citizens or individuals can be able to acquire the knowledge that they can be gainfully employed either as self-employment or even in organizations. Then secondly, we have talked about issues of power. We actually need power because the private sector is driven by electricity. And if you look at those sectors too, the value chain, if you take agriculture, agriculture has a lot of value chain. Apart from production, you probably need to transport, you need to process, you need to store, you need to market, and transport or export. So most of this production has value chain, and in some of those value chain, without electricity, it becomes difficult. And without certain infrastructure like good roads networks for the transport of those things, you cannot really achieve. And mind you,
so I'm going to take it that infrastructure is just
key.
where to go. All right, thank you very much for coming on Business Express, and I've been speaking with Dr. Elisha Aucha. Thank you very much for coming. Now, the National Bureau of Statistics has embarked on an enumeration project to sample the opinion of the masses on their views and perceptions on the fight against corruption. This was made known in a press briefing with journalists in Abuja, and Momso Demian Eti was there and now reports.
The fight against corruption is one of the cardinal objectives of the Buhari-led government to right administrative and societal wrongs of the past. In driving this vision, the National Bureau of Statistics has embarked on an enumeration data gathering project to sample the opinion of the populace on the issue.
The survey itself aims at getting experience of people on corruption events, who are the victims and what led to the situation. We also sought to know the opinion and perception of citizens about the trends and pattern of policies on corruption.
The sample size of the project has 60 enumeration areas in Fecus and about 900 households in the 36 states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory, totaling about 33,000 houses nationwide.
We'll be able to do analysis for all the variables that we are captured in the survey with this sample size, with a very good estimate that is robust enough to say that what we have gotten is 95% confidence at that level.
The summary of the project, which will be carried out with the aid of electronic data gathering, is expected to be made available to the general public by September 2019. Momso Damien Ati.
The Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture, Olusegun Runshawa, says the steps taken by the Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele, for developing a creative industry financing initiative will open a new frontier for investors in the industry. Runshawa, who gave these commendations in Abuja, said that the initiative will allow investors in the creative industry access loans up to 500 million naira at 9% interest rate. He noted that these initiatives will greatly boost the industry and enhance the capacity of key players in the sector to optimize their potentials, adding that more than 10 countries of the world have used similar initiatives to fight poverty, unemployment, crime and youth restiveness. Runshawa called on key players in the creative industry to take advantage of the opportunity of the facility to develop and strengthen their businesses. The Creative Industry Financing Initiative was developed by the CBN in collaboration with the Bankers Committee. The creative industries that could apply for the loan include fashion, information and technology, movie distribution, music and software engineering. Now on that note, we take a look at how commodities are faring. was a three-day trading week as financial institutions closed Tuesday and Wednesday for the Eid al-Fitr holidays as declared by the federal government. Let's join Bossade Abel for details of market activities.
It was a brief trading week as the federal government of Nigeria declared Tuesday 4th and Wednesday 5th June 2019 as public holidays to mark the end of the holy month of Ramadan and commemorate the Eid Fitr celebrations. The NSE All-Share Index and market capitalization depreciated by 2.05% and 2.06% to close the week at 30,432.13 and 13.4 trillion naira. A total turnover of 768.9 million shares valued at 12.5 billion naira in 11,229 deals were traded by investors on the floor of the exchange. All other indices depreciated with the exception of the NSE Premium Index, NSE AFR Bank Value Index and NSE Marine Engineering and Research Institute Growth Index, which appreciated 1.07%, 0.02% and 0.05%. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 578.32 million shares valued at 7.3 billion naira traded in 5,934 deals. The oil and gas industry followed with 55.2 million shares worth 1.4 billion naira in 1,111 deals. The third place was conglomerate industry with a turnover of 48.3 million shares worth 227.4 million naira in 470 deals. Trading in the top three equities, Guarantee Trust Bank, United Bank for Africa PLC, and First City Monument Bank accounted for 329.9 million shares worth 5.3 billion naira in 1,427 deals. There was no exchange-traded products last week. A total of 23,941 units of federal government bonds valued at 24.5 million naira were traded in 26 deals. 15 equities appreciated in price during the week, 44 equities depreciated in price, while 109 equities remained unchanged.
Now the losing streak continues in the Nigerian Stock Exchange as the all-share index depreciated by 0.36% at the close of trade this Monday. It ended the session at 30,322.19 basis points, with the market capitalization closing out at 13.3 trillion naira. 247.3 million shares worth 3.4 billion naira were traded in 3,434 deals that exchanged hands at the end of the session. Zenith Bank emerged the most involved stock at the end of the session. 40 Oil led the gainers, while Unilever led the decliners. And now let's take a look at how global stocks are faring.
On the global scene, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, via a Twitter post, said Mexico will crack down on migration from Central America after the two neighbors reach an agreement. However, this has made positive impact on the global market on 10th June. European markets opened higher based on the announcement by President Trump. FTSE 100 rose 0.48%, CAC 40 0.17%, while DAX was unchanged. Stocks in Asia also traded higher in midday. The Shanghai Composite gained 0.86%, Hang Seng Index 2.27%, and Nikkei also rose 1.20%. United States Stock Index futures were higher as international trade continues to remain under focus. Dow Jones Industrial Average appreciated 1.02%, while futures of the S&P and Nasdaq were also seen higher. In Africa, South Africa and Ghana's GSE Composite made positive gains in early trading, while Nairobi All-Share, Tunisia's Tunidex, and Namibia Overall Index were negative.
End of this edition of Business Express. Remember, all previous episodes are available on YouTube. You can also join us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News. Now, remember the hashtag BizEx. Let's do it again, same time, same station on Wednesday. I am Leah Katung. Baba Tunde.